All right, so just back to the review. Also know the kinetic energy and temperature and how that relates to matter. So remember, the big thing with this, with kinetic molecular theory, is just saying that kinetic energy is just the energy of motion, right? And the higher you raise the temperature, the faster molecules will move, right? So as you keep increasing the temperature, you keep increasing the movement of molecules, and eventually the heat of fusion. Remember this: the heat of fusion is what let me skip to this real quick just so I can show you what I'm talking about. Remember right here, the heat of fusion is what you have. Let me move these off to the side. Right here in this first line, and don't forget this, in this first line, the heat of fusion is breaking down the bonds that cause it to go from a solid to a liquid, right? Melting. So remember, heat of fusion is causing the solid, it's breaking the bonds and causing it to go from a solid to a liquid, right? Heat of fusion, remember, fusion means melting. And then up here, the heat of vaporization, so this one right here, heat of vaporization right here. Remember, this is just the energy required to change from a liquid to a gas. So if you see somewhere and they ask you like, well, why is it flat right here? Remember, this is where the heat of vaporization is breaking the bonds that allow it to go from water to a gas, right? So again, heat of fusion is a breaking down, is melting it and breaking down the bonds so it goes from a liquid, from a solid to a liquid. And then up here, the heat of vaporization allows it to go from water to a gas. All right, so that is what kinetic energy is, and that's heat of fusion, again, is allowing it to go from solid to liquid. Heat of vaporization is allowing it to go from a liquid to a gas. Right, and so again, kinetic energy right here, the higher the temperature, the more kinetic energy something has. And so here, this has the least kinetic energy, right? A solid, remember, has a definite shape, definite volume. And then the water in between the two, this one has like in between all three, right? This one has a medium amount of kinetic energy. And then here, the gases, they have the most kinetic energy of these three. All right, so that's how kinetic energy relates to matter. And also know, again, the higher the temperature, the faster particles move. And so for these definitions, remember, you can always find them on the lessons that we were doing. And in this case, vaporization, you all should know that, that is going from a liquid to a gas. Remember, vaporization goes through the boiling point. Evaporation does not have to boil before it goes from a liquid to a gas. Condensation is just like when you breathe on a window, that is going from a gas to a liquid, right? And then you can draw a little smiley face or whatever on the window. Freezing, hopefully you know that, right? Going from a liquid to a solid. Think of ice. Melting is going from a solid to a liquid. Think of ice again. Deposition, again, this one doesn't happen too often here, but this is like going from a gas to a solid. So in the up north, when it's super cold and you breathe on the windshield, the gas that you exhale from your mouth hits the windshield and it turns to frost or ice, right? That is deposition. And then sublimation, just think of dry ice, right? Dry ice is going from a solid to a gas, skipping the liquid phase, and that is sublimation.